Well, hello everybody. Danny and Wanda back from Deep South Homestead. To finish up our seed saving video, we kind of got to a certain point on it, had to cut it off because we had to wait for our seeds to dry out a little bit more. And plus we had to pick a lot more. Now we're not through picking yet. We still got, a pretty good bit more in the garden to pick. But it's one of them things that you just got to keep doing because the seeds don't wait on you. They just get ready, and we've been having the threat of severe weather almost on a daily basis. We're in the triple-digit heat indexes, which is really good for drying and saving seeds, but the threat of the weather, luckily, we've not been bombarded by it. It has skirted us every time, but the heat has just been relentless. So Wanda and I run out during the day whenever we can, and we try to pick what we can and take the heat just for a little while and run back in, and we scatter these things out and let them dry. Now what you don't want to happen, like I mentioned in the video, is for beans that are dry like this. You can tell you hear them snap. They are really, really dry. You don't want that bean to get wet. Now we talked about that in the video because if it gets wet, what will happen is it'll start sprouting in the hole. And that's what you want to try to eliminate. So we have pretty much beat the rain all the way around, and we've been able to save a lot of seeds. Now, as we promised in the video, Ms. Wanda did at the end of the video, she said she would do a giveaway to 4 different people. She would give away a pack of seeds, and what she had you to do was to choose a live plant that you wanted to go along with the seeds that she's going to send. Now, I personally don't know what seeds she's sending. This is something that she wanted to do. Now, Ms. Angela actually started this, and Wanda and I talked about it, and I said, you know what? It's probably not a bad idea. It's not like we're running out of seeds. Because we have enough to get us by, and even if we have a crop failure, we had enough to plant again. And we kind of made an executive decision to just go ahead and do a seed saving giveaway. Now the seeds that we're going to be giving away have been acclimated to our property for zone 8. Now we're 30 miles north of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and for those of you who do not know where we're at, they're acclimated for our area. Now we have a sandy loam soil here. It's not a heavy clay soil or anything like that here. So keep that in mind if you're one of the winners and you go to plant the seeds that we send. Understand that this is the environment that they come out of. Now they come out of extreme heat. Okay? So they've been doing great. I can't complain. Most all of our seeds are doing fantastic. Now, the first winner, I don't know if I'll pronounce your name right, but it's Frank Cacciati. And Mr. Frank wanted the multiplying onions for his live plant. Now, for the second winner is Deborah Benzinger. Now Deborah wanted peppercorns, and we have plenty of those out there, so it won't be a problem. They're pretty prolific though. That's one thing when you plant the peppercorns, you probably want to put them in a container of some kind that you can keep moist and keep where you can bring them in the wintertime, because they don't like temperatures below 40 degrees. So you're going to have to keep them warm. And they do run up, they make a vine, and they do run up. Now, Mona Potter was the third winner, and Mona herself wanted the multiplying onions. So we're going to be sending her some multiplying onions also. And Craig Marr was our 4th winner. Now Craig wanted some peppercorns also, so we'll be sending him a live plant, which is peppercorn, along with the seed packet that Miss Wanda's going to be sending. Now, a couple of things I want to mention here. These seed packets that we're going to be sending out, these are not seed packets to, when you plant them, to stock your pantry with. Now, it would be great if, you know, if I could afford to send that many seeds out. But the seed packets that we're going to be sending out is basically to help you get a seed stock started. Because that's basically when you order from a company, you know, you get 1 pack and it's got X number of seeds in it. Well, of course, that one little pack's not going to supply your family's needs for a year. You have to, at some point, either keep buying a lot more packs of seeds of the same variety, or either you have to do like we've done. You have to actively do your homework and check your cultivars and stuff like that, and your genus names and things like this, so that you don't cross-pollinate and contaminate your seed varieties. Now, all the seed varieties that we'll be sending out are pure seed varieties. They're all open pollinated. You don't have to worry about that. So they're heirlooms. You don't have to worry about that. They're non-GMO. You don't have to worry about that. They've not been sprayed with any chemicals whatsoever, so they're organic in the nature. I mean, the only thing that was not maybe organic on it was some fertilizer that I used to actually grow them with. But other than that, they're pure seeds from a pure lineage. And guys, you've seen the videos of where we've grown a lot of these different things, and they are doing fantastic. Now, I want to take this video just a little bit further, and I've been sitting here shelling these dry beans out. I want to kind of take and show you what we've already harvested so far. And I know it's going to look like a lot, but I've got two box tops here. These box tops are full of these Cherokee yellow wax beans. Now, yes, this looks like a lot of beans. There's probably a couple of pounds in this one, and I guess at a pound or so in this one, and I still got a bunch to go. But let me kind of show you a little bit about what we do here. I take another smaller box like this one here, and I pick these seeds up and I just put them in my hand like this. And as I go through, I look at them. Now, size means a lot to me when it comes to the Cherokee yellow wax beans. If it's a little tiny seed like this one here, compared to one of the bigger ones, if I lay them in the palm of my hand, I get them up there where you can see them, you can kind of see the difference. One of them's a real big seed and one of them's a little bitty seed. Now, I'm not interested in the little bitty seed, so I take the little bitty seed and I throw it over to the side. Now, will that little bitty seed grow a plant? And the answer is yes, it will grow a plant. But over my years of experimenting with this, that plant never really does perform like it should. It's much like cattle. You know, when I raise my cows, you don't want to buy a poor old skinny cow for a brooder cow. You want a big old fat, healthy looking cow, you know, that's got wide hips on the back and a good straight back on it and all of this things, you know, a deep girth in the front, very gentle. You're looking for these characteristics on a cow. Well, the beans are not much different than that. As I'm sitting here holding these in my hand and I'm looking at them, I've got one right here that's got some mold around on the edges of it right here. So it goes in by the side there. And I keep looking and looking, And these beans here that's left in my hand are black. They're shiny. They're beautiful. They're pretty uniform in size. So these are the ones I'm going to save. Now I just throw these in here. These actually go in here for the chickens down here. And this will be the seeds that I'll be saving here. And that's what I do. I just continually, I don't get a lot of them in my hand at one time. I look, now all of these look very good. They're all pretty much uniform in size. I throw them over there. And occasionally as you pick them up, now here's one here. This one is brown in color. And it's kind of got some wrinkly, shriveled up sides on it a little bit here, which tells me that the bean is trying to suck in, and it probably never really got pollinated like it needs to. So that one will go to the chickens also. And then what I have left in my hand, once again, is some bright, black, shiny, uniform size beans. Now, the reason I like to keep everything uniform is if you're using a hand push planter or a tractor planter with plates on it or anything like that, as long as the seeds are uniform, it's a lot easier to choose a plate for planting. Because if you end up with large beans and little beans and large beans and little beans, then what happens is those plates have a certain size hole in them, and if you'll go one or the other. If you get too small a hole, your big beans won't get planted. If you get too big of a hole, your big beans will get planted, but you'll get 2 or 3 of the little beans will fall in it, and you'll have 2 or 3 plants coming up out of one thing, and you waste a lot of seeds that way. So it's best to just go ahead and take the time just to go through them, hand pick them, and they're all the same size. Now my daddy, I've told y'all in the videos, he used to sit and laugh at me because I did this. And he'd say, son, don't worry about that. Just plant extra ones in the row. He says, and when they come up, take your hoe and just cut out the ones you don't want. Well, by doing that, and my daddy was a sharecropper. I mean, and they did lots of good gardening back then. But when you do that, what happens is you don't know if you've ended up with a seed that come up that you left growing there, if that plant was one of the plants from a little seed that was kind of weak. And maybe it didn't have the genetic quality that it should have had. So that's why I hand pick my seeds like these. So guys, today...
Okay, hold on. Mention how once you let these sit out and dry, and then you put them in a bag, and you got a cedar chest with plastic totes. Mention all that before you get through.
So guys, let me take you a little bit further what we do here. Now once I've picked these out like this and I've gone completely through them, just to be safe and make sure, because see, all it takes is a couple of beans that still have some moisture in them to ruin all of them, because mold will start growing on them. So what I'll do is I'll take these beans, and I've got some large drying trays in there, and I'll take these that I've already gone through out, and I'll pour them out on that tray, and I'll lay them out and let them dry for another week until they're so hard that your fingernail, you mash on them and your fingernail won't even leave any marks in them. That means that they've dried completely, because they cannot have any moisture in them whatsoever. And then whenever I get that done, we'll either take, now we don't eat store-bought mayonnaise and all that kind of stuff hardly, but if you've got something like mayonnaise jars or just some plastic containers with lids on them, big gallon Ziploc bags, we'll put them in those once we know that there is absolutely no moisture left in them. And we'll put them into, my daddy made a cedar shift robe in yonder. It's kind of like a large armoire. It's like 4 feet wide, 2 foot deep, and 6 feet tall. We store our seeds inside this cedar chest because insects don't come inside cedar chests. They don't like the cedar smell. And the seeds are inside the house here in a controlled environment in the house. The temperature, ranges, I don't know. Right now the thermostat's set on 77, so anywhere between 75 and 77 is where we leave our thermostat on pretty much most of the time. So the seeds pretty much stay in that. Now a lot of people's going to ask, do I have to put them in the freezer or can I put them in the freezer? And the answer is yes, you can put them in the freezer if you want to. It's not necessary. Now, peas and corn are different because peas and corn have worms in them and weevils in them. Now, you might occasionally find a worm in one of these beans, but I very, very, very seldom ever find one in the beans. But the peas, they're quite common in peas. Now, I'll say peas, I'm not talking about green peas. I'm talking about field peas, southern field peas, your Crowders, your pink-eyed purple hulls, stuff like that. They can be put in the freezer and left in the freezer, or you can put them and the corn in the freezer for about a 2 to 2.5 week period. Then you can take them out, let them come to room temperature, and then you can store them in some containers and they'll last for years that way. Now, the life expectancy of these beans, guys, I'm planting beans that I harvested in 2012 and they're still all coming up growing just fine. So as long as they're kept acclimated at the right temperature, really the viability of some of them does go down, but if the viability of seeds went away, then these companies that sell these survival seeds that comes in these packs that you're not supposed to open up for 20 years or 25 years or something, then the seeds would be no good. So they will last. You know, now carrot seeds, I think, and onion seeds are some of the ones that are maybe 2 to 3 years. You have to kind of watch because their germination rate is not quite what it needs to be for long-term storage. But other than that, and I know this looks like a lot of bean seeds, and a lot of people would go, man, that's so many bean seeds, why don't you just give some away to somebody who could use them? Well, we are giving them to y'all. And we do give some to others, but there is another aspect to this. These bean seeds like this, I mean, you take we'll have probably 4 to 5 pounds of bean seeds here. In the event that the Lord help us, but if something happened to our system and we had to have a way to survive, these could be used in a multitude of ways. Now, these are just dry beans. You could take and soak them overnight, put them in a pot full of water and boil them the next day and eat them just like dry beans. Or you could take them out, you could take you a grinder and you could grind them into bean flour, which is extremely high in protein, and you can make yourself a few muffins or little hoe cakes or whatever it is that you want to make out of it to get you by if you didn't have any type of flour. So there's a lot of different reasons why we keep so many bean seeds and so many pea seeds and stuff like that like we do. It's just simply because it's just a survival thing. And I think, guys, if you would do the same thing, I think you'd find out that in case of I hate to use the word SHTF, but I use LCE, which is a life-changing event takes place. Now, a life-changing event could be, you could have a tornado, you could have bad weather, you could have health issues, you could have financial issues. You know, there's lots of different things. You could have climate issues that takes place to where you're not able to work, you're not able to have an income like you need and all that, and you had to fall back on your food supply. Then dry beans are a long-term storage solution for surviving during hard times. Okay, guys, before I get off of here, because I got a lot of beans still to shell here, before I get off of here, the names that I mentioned, Mr. Frank Cacciati, if I hope I'm saying that right, forgive me if I'm not. Mr. Frank, send us an email please. Ms. Deborah Beringer, then you need to send us an email also. Mona Potter, you need to send us an email. Craig Marr, you need to send us an email also to deepsouthhomestead@gmail.com so that we can get back with you and get your address so that we can send these seeds out to you. Now, if we have not heard from you by Saturday night when we do our live stream, we will pick new winners and they will be announced on the Saturday night live stream. So I encourage you guys to get your emails to us as quickly as possible so that we can get back with you and get information that we need, and we can get this stuff in the mail so that you can enjoy your seeds before it's too late to do anything with them. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.